Now I want to talk more about this virus and some of the confusion around it. We turn to concierge physician Dr. Abe Malkin. Thank you so much for joining us, Dr. Malkin.
My pleasure.
Okay, obviously it's the headlines on most news outlets around the world right now. Should we be trusting the information being told to us regarding the coronavirus, especially the numbers that we're hearing around the world that have been infected and obviously the death numbers?
Yeah, I think the numbers that we're getting out of China may be somewhat inaccurate due to a variety of reasons, one of which is just a lack of testing equipment to properly diagnose those individuals with coronavirus. People are coming to hospitals that are understaffed with not sufficient testing kits, and they may be, treated and then led away without actually knowing if they had the coronavirus. Here in the U.S., we have abundant resources to test people for the flu and other types of viruses, so our disease figures are more accurate. That being said, the CDC and the WHO, U.S. government agencies are doing a better job of identifying the virus and its causes and giving people accurate information about how to prevent the spread.
Well, I think one of the things has been the labeling of this virus, because obviously pictures have popped up of the back of Lysol cans where it says can prevent colds, flu, coronavirus. They're going, but wait a minute, I thought the coronavirus, this was something new that's just come out these past few months. Tell me about this coronavirus, and is it sort of like the flu where there's certain strains that are obviously more detrimental, more health concerning than others?
Sure. It is a virus like the flu. So the symptoms of the coronavirus, at least at the outset, are very similar to the flu. Respiratory symptoms, cough, cold, fever, chills, body aches. The symptoms tend to set onset within 2 to 14 days. And then what happens is the virus actually targets the lung tissue and causes restrictive lung disease where it makes people more difficult to breathe, makes it have people have shortness of breath. So it starts off similar to the flu, but then progresses much more rapidly to a more serious disease causing lung issues and difficulty breathing.
Well, and there's a lot of conspiracy theories. I think a lot of it obviously feeds on fear. It might benefit some. It obviously does not help the overall picture of it. There's these videos of people just collapsing in the streets of China and these long lines and those types of videos right there. How much stock do you put in that to actually being legitimate or actual videos that are meant more to spread fear than actual truth about what's going on with this disease?
Sure. I mean, we've seen this now turn into somewhat of a pandemic where people are becoming extremely concerned about the spread of the virus. Are we going to be able to contain it? And, just one image of seeing someone collapse in a street can spread fear across the country and internationally. Certainly for those who are unhealthy, elderly, or even young children, this is definitely more of a concern. For the average adult healthy individual outside of China in the U.S., it's definitely much less of a concern here. But I think for those who are living in the midst of it in China, this is definitely something that is concerning to them for good reason. As we've seen, the mortality rate for the coronavirus is not as high as SARS. However, it is spread more quickly than in the previous SARS epidemic.
Well, and now we're finding out that, there's a cruise ship up in New York that's in harbor right now with obviously everyone on the boat right now being in quarantine. You obviously got Army bases over in California where they're holding people who've come over. What are the chances, let's give it 2 weeks, 4 weeks, whatever they determine, that these residents, these people are able to go into the general public? Once they are cleared, are they officially cleared, or should there still be any concern regarding those officials? I'm worried about the pushback on people. I think there's obviously, I would even say hate crimes that are happening against people that have come from China. Once they're cleared by a doctor, it's pretty safe to say that they're cleared as well.
That is true. Once someone is cleared, as far as we know in our understanding of the virus, they are cleared of having it. And just to put things into perspective, the coronavirus can infect people within several feet of you. It's transmitted through respiratory droplets and through human contact. Whereas SARS, for example, was slightly less infectious in that it was a smaller radius of area around you that you can infect people. However, by contrast, measles or more serious infections like that can actually be spread within hundreds of feet. So to put that into perspective, it's not nearly as infectious as measles, but it is slightly more infectious as SARS. So, in this day and age, actually, the regular flu virus is more of a concern for people in the U.S.
Well, I want to tie this back into how we started. Obviously, the lack of communication that's coming out, or the lack of trust in what we're being told as the public. Kind of reminds me of a book out of, like, I think it was 1981. There was a book that Dean Koontz put out. It was inspired by this. It was called The Eyes of Darkness. It was a novel. It was fake, but it talked about a corona type of virus on that side of it. These types of fear and conspiracy theories in the present, what damage does it do? And more importantly, the next time we have one of these worldwide epidemics, what is the long-term damage that this mistrust has in those that are supposed to be providing us with truthful information?
Yeah, I mean, it's a shame that, we can't always get accurate information and rely on government agencies to provide that. China now, as compared to, a decade ago during the SARS epidemic, is a much more interconnected country. It's still somewhat behind a firewall behind their government, but it is much more connected to the rest of the world. And when things like this happen, it actually damages our ability to have good communication and reliable communication, with countries such as China, and causes a lot of mistrust amongst the population. So we're hoping that we can get this under control and repair the damage that's been done. But unfortunately, I'm sure we'll see in the future there will be a lot of mistrust when epidemics like this occur.
Well, hopefully we learned the lesson, unfortunately, because we know this is something that possibly could happen again. Thank you so much for joining us, Doctor.
You're welcome.